That man could not have been the Stratford Shakespeare and wasn't. Mark Twain. I am sort of haunted by the conviction that the Divine William is the biggest and most successful fraud ever practiced on a patient world. 19th century author Henry James. Included among the thousands doubting the man from Stratford wrote Shakespeare are Freud, John Gielgud, Orson Welles, Derek Jacobi, Mark Rylance, Vanessa Redgrave, and at least 5 former Supreme Court justices, including Justice Paul Stevens, Sandra Day O'Connor, and Justice Scalia. Are any of you in the audience avowed doubters, or have you ever questioned the authorship of the Shakespeare plays? In Cipher or Secret Code, the author reveals, "At 20, I was subdued to their yoke. My mother learned I wrote Hamlet, Prince of Denmark, and then I was lost." England's Virgin Queen, Elizabeth I, refused to share her throne with anyone, whether French prince, clandestine husband, or legitimate son. At the birth of her first child, this maddened woman cried, "Kill! Kill!" Queen Liz wasn't keen on having a kid. For her, being mother was strictly forbid. She secretly married Leicester the Earl. Under the virgin facade hid a flirtatious girl. So how did our concealed poet survive such perilous circumstances at the time of his royal birth? Fortunately, Elizabeth, lady-in-waiting, calmed the queen and offered to take the child home and rear him in her household, as she had just given birth to a stillborn baby. Cursed, unwanted, and threatened with death, Lady Anne entreated, interceded, and left old Windsor Castle with a round painted box, holding the royalty his own mother mocked. She carried him home and hid him away, as her stillborn child did save the day. She pretended Francis was hers all alone, so she and Nicholas called him their own. At the Queen's direction, this royal son received an education fit for a king. At 12, he entered Trinity College at Cambridge University. But at 15, his idyllic life dramatically changed, and he was plunged into a world of scandal and jealousy, intrigue and treachery, until his supposed death in 1626. At a royal party with the Queen, his deformed, jealous cousin, Cecil, purposely initiated a rumor that Francis was the bastard son of the Queen and Leicester. As the gossip spread around the room, Cecil drew the Queen's attention to a young lady greedily whispering the scandal. A fiery tempest broke first upon the girl and then upon Francis, who sought to spare her fragile life. At 15 years, Prince Francis found out. His mother's lips declared with a shout, "I bar from succession forevermore my best beloved royal firstborn." Blasting his sense, he trembled to know his fate, an unwanted tutor, but heir to the throne. Distraught, furious, weeping and sobbing sore, he ran to Anne, where love soothed fury's roar. In Cipher, Prince Francis discloses, "In a breath, my mother disclosed our relationship, cursed my nativity, nor could I ever change her hasty decision upon that very important question of the succession." And so our unknown king wrote his true story in the Shakespeare plays, along with his dysfunctional mother, ambitious father, and all his family, friends, and enemies playing their parts on the Elizabethan stage at the time. I've just revealed to you a truth that has been buried, burned, and concealed for over 400 years. But in case you are still wondering just who the real Shakespeare is, 5, 6, 7, 8. Listen, my children, and you shall hear about Francis Bacon and Will Shakespeare. Bacon is Will and Shakespeare is Bacon. He wrote all those plays, and I'm not faking. Francis Bacon's true identity has been hidden since his birth in 1561. However, for those who have eyes to see and ears to hear, we can find secrets of his identity in the plays he immortalized. The play Hamlet is his autobiography. Hamlet equals little ham or little bacon. In the play, Francis is Hamlet, Nicholas Bacon is King Hamlet, Elizabeth is Gertrude, Leicester is Claudius, and Anthony Bacon is Horatio. The play threatened the queen, and she threw the script in the fire, believing it would motivate her subjects to murder her as the Danish king had been murdered. And 300 years later, another English queen burned proof of marriage between Elizabeth I and the Earl of Leicester. One should never tamper with history, said Queen Victoria, as she tossed into the flames the marriage certificate, and perhaps the only remaining proof that Elizabeth and Leicester had been married before Bacon's birth. Francis Bacon lived to set life free. He wrote the plays for future generations and for the many who could not read at the time. He put into those plays teachings for the development of the soul, teachings that would encourage honor. What part will you play before you make your final exit? Will you stay mired in uncertainty, questioning whether to be or not to be? Or will you come into alignment with your higher calling, leading yourself and those who depend on you to victory? Every one of us has a key role to play at this critical hour. We must question what doesn't make sense in our history books, what doesn't inspire in our classrooms, and what doesn't ring true on the nightly news. We are being called to reconnect with our divine purpose and to take right action. I encourage you to dig deep below the surface for the truth shall set you free. He heralds an age, golden and new, shakes his spear to show what's true. Read the plays and you will learn keys to master life at every turn.